Today we are going to have Dr. Yoann Birling to talk about the benefits of traditional Chinese medicine for the public health. Hi Yoann, could you give us a bit more introduction of your background?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I grew up in France, and I was always very passionate and had a strong desire to help people who suffer, and that was something that already always pushed me through whatever I was doing. Also in my family, the background is basically my grandmother was naturopath, so we always had very healthy food, eating tofu, and tofu was not a thing at all in the West. Having homeopathy and never taking any antibiotics and stuff like that. So that kind of made sense to me to try to go for a more natural approach to healthcare and treating people without chemical drugs. So this brought me to go to China when I was 18 and to look for medical knowledge and medical experience that could help people in the West who really needs to have this medical knowledge and experience. That's why I went there and I studied for 10 years over there in China. And now I'm back to the West and trying to share my knowledge to people and trying to help as many people as I can.
Thank you, Yuan. So could you let us know that what's the benefits of the Chinese medicine can do for the public's health in your based on your own experience?
Yeah, so absolutely. Chinese medicine needs to be beneficial for the public to exist, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. The most straightforward thing would be that we can help a lot of people who have medical conditions, and we can help a lot of people who are not satisfied by Western medicine treatments or biomedical treatments, or when there is no cure with biomedical treatments. There are lots of situations in which we can help people. So it can be an alternative or a complementary treatment. In both situations, we can help. There's also the idea that understanding the theories of Chinese medicine, which has been built through thousands of years of experience, it's a massive knowledge we're talking about here, can really help us to understand medical situations and healthcare in general. For example, if someone who has a spleen deficiency or dampness, for example, they may have skin rashes, and we understand that because we know that internally they have this dampness, this waste inside their body. And we understand why, for example, it gets worse when the weather is humid, and we understand why they get worse when they eat something very high fat, so that's cheese and stuff like that, because we know that this will make the dampness worse. So that really makes sense from a Chinese medicine perspective, but we don't really have a good explanation in Western medicine, even though we see that happening in the clinic. But if you don't have this theoretical framework, you can't really make sense of that. So that's a second point. A third point, I would say, what we can do is we can help people through lifestyle changes, lifestyle advices, taking certain type of food. We can just help people to be healthier in general, and also prevent them having medical conditions in the future. So we can have this prevention of condition. There was a study in Taiwan that very interesting showed that people who have insomnia and were taking Chinese herbal medicine were to some degree protected against developing dementia, because we know that insomnia can increase the risk of dementia, but taking herbs were helping them to reduce this risk. So I think this is the kind of thing where we can help.
That's very impressive. So I think for the general people, like they know what kind of conditions that they needed to look for help from the doctor. Could you tell us more about what kind of conditions that Chinese medicine is more suitable for play a role in this treatment?
Yes, absolutely. Of course, there are some conditions in which biomedicine will be better, and some conditions Chinese medicine will be better. We actually have a video on that to explain in which situation is the best to go to one or the other. In a nutshell, basically for all gynecological conditions such as endometriosis, PCOS, or even period pain in general, Chinese medicine is really good at that, to regulate this. And we don't need any surgery or anything like that. Also for digestive conditions, again, we're talking about IBS, Crohn's syndrome, or other type of functional diseases. We also have a lot of methods through herbs, through acupuncture, through moxa, cupping, all these things to help and regulate the digestive system. Last one would be, I would say, dermatology. So in biomedicine, dermatology is really focused on, I would say, even a bit obsessed on the skin. And from our perspective, the problem of the skin are generally related with something internal. And that's why when we're treating dermatological conditions, we are focusing more on the internal aspects, which, because we are regulating the core root of the problem, they tend to not come back when we get to treat them and when it's effective. So that's really one of the advantages we have. We're not just treating the symptom here, we're trying to go a bit deeper and seeing what's the mechanism and try to work on this mechanism as well. In addition to that, I would say for people who have 10 different medical conditions, who have arthritis, coronary heart disease, hypertension, stroke, etc., etc. So lots of different things going around. Because Chinese medicine works on the mechanism behind all these conditions, or maybe not necessarily all, but a few of them, with one treatment we can make 5 or 6 different types of disease better at the same time, which is better than taking 10 different drugs. So that's also something we can do. And the last thing I would say is when people are a bit unhealthy, but they don't really have a diagnosis, it's not as that severe, they may be a little bit tired, they may have a bit of digestive problems, or they may have headaches from time to time. We can also help these people to get healthier in general. And again, they may not need really a biomedical drug, but we can do that with herbs or acupuncture.
Thank you, Yoann. So what suggestions do you have for people who would like to look for a Chinese medicine practitioner for the treatment?
Yeah, so I would say if you have a situation that is undiagnosed, so if you have experienced symptoms, you've never talked to a doctor about the symptoms, and especially if it's an acute condition, something like acute abdominal pain, chest pain, anything like that, don't hesitate, go to see your doctor first, go to the emergency if it's urgent, but don't start to go look for a Chinese medicine practitioner because they're not trained to diagnose these conditions. So if you already have a diagnosis, but there's not an ideal situation, ideal treatment that can help you, you can explore Chinese medicine, of course. In this case, I would say try to look for someone who is registered, especially of course, in countries in which there is a way to register. If in some countries, I know in France, for example, you can't register, it doesn't exist. So in this case, try to look for people who have a strong educational background. In China, we learn 5 years full-time program. It's a very heavy program. So try to have someone who has at least 3 or 4 years of study behind them, hopefully full-time studies, because they need that. Like you don't learn Chinese medicine in a week over a weekend. That's just not possible. That's no way. There's too much to learn. A few other things. So if you see that your practitioner they don't really ask so many questions, and they just take the pulse and start to throw away some diagnosis and tell you have heart problems, you have blah blah blah, neurological problems, blah blah blah. Be careful, because that's not the kind of thing we do in Chinese medicine. We don't throw diagnosis like that onto people, and especially biomedical diagnosis, because that's not our role. That's not what we do. Also, if they tend to be like very spiritual and talk to you that they will clean your soul and bring you to heaven, etc., etc., just be very careful about these type of things. Again, Chinese medicine, it's a medicine, it's practical, it's about helping conditions. It's not about the soul. It's not a religion. In addition to that, also try to see if you ask for explanation about what they're doing, and if they can't really give you an answer, if it's completely confused and it's all over the place, They may not be trained properly, so be careful about that. However, I would say if they tell you the answer and it's just you don't understand these words because they're talking about liver, coldness, and things like that, you've never heard these terms, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Just try to recall all the things and talk to someone who has a background in Chinese medicine to verify that this reasoning makes sense. But if you get the check and that makes sense, then all good. Last thing I would say is people don't necessarily explain it to you, but if you feel discomfort during the treatment, regardless of its acupuncture, cupping, etc., just feel free to tell the practitioner that you're not comfortable about something. And if you want to stop, just tell them stop at any time. So you don't have to suffer for nothing. And there might be some pain involved, but make sure that this pain is explained to you, and it's required pain, but not something that is useless.
Thank you very much, Yuan. So in a summary, like the traditional Chinese medicine can help a lot, like used widely for the conditions. And for people who would like to look for a Chinese medicine, that you need to find a trustable, reliable practitioner.
Yeah.
And always ask questions if you have, and also give your feedback to your practitioner.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. And I hope you have learned a lot from this video. If you have any questions, please leave your comments behind this video. Thank you.
I am Yoann Birling, a clinician, lecturer and researcher in Chinese medicine. Please feel free to like this video if you did, and subscribe to our channel for more videos on health, psychology and Chinese medicine.